Hi guys, this is Mr. Sasson and I'm here today to do the 7 Deadly Sins chapter 118, and this is going to be a quick one because currently I'm at a friend's house in Austria, in Vienna. So I'm currently visiting and I don't have a lot of time for me. Yeah, it's currently night time. That's what the lighting. So I don't have very much light here where I'm currently filming. Anyway, let me just be quick about this chapter. First of all, the chapter is very simple. King fights the Albion giant. Gerald comes and sees King fighting the Albion giant, and Gerald says that this is the beast they have imprisoned 3,000 years ago. Bomb is still out of commission, and now the elves are fighting the fairies. Sorry, not the elves. The fairies are fighting alongside King, trying to slow the giant so King can escape. Then King puts on the helmet. He has a conversation with Helbram, and Helbram tells King to be selfish for once and just save his life. Of course, King doesn't want to do that. He sacrifices his arm, or so it looks like, to create an released sacred treasure. And I don't like this. First of all, it looks like Bleach. And I have talked about this in my first reviews of the 7 Deadly Sins, that the 7 Deadly Sins seems like a mashup between certain series like Fairy Tail, Claymore, now Bleach, and well, now they have their sacred treasures have release forms, sort of like the Bankai from Bleach. And I don't like this because it comes out of nowhere. There was no hint about it that they have release forms, and it comes from nowhere at all. And that means that they have even more power now. King has even more power now, and I don't even want to imagine Meliodas with a release sacred treasure. And if I remember correctly, when the sacred treasures were introduced, the thing was that the power of the 7 Deadly Sins was symbolized by a lake, and they could only draw a bucket at a time from that lake. But with the sacred treasures, they have a pipeline to that lake. Symbolism. Well, now with the release sacred treasure, it's like they can draw almost the whole entirety of their powers, and I don't like that. But basically, that's the entire chapter, and you gotta realize that King was the first deadly sin that was introduced with his weapon, with his sacred treasure. The other deadly sins at the time, back a few dozen chapters ago, the other deadly sins, when they meet King, they didn't have their sacred treasure. King was the first one with a sacred treasure, and King is the first one with a release sacred treasure. So it stands to logic that the others will show their release form soon. Diane probably the first one, because if I remember correctly, after we saw King and his scaffold, or whatever his weapon is named, then we saw Diane with her hammer. That was the order that they found the sacred treasures back a dozen chapters ago. And this is how it's going to be now, in my opinion. King released his you see what I'm talking about? Not Zampacto. King released his a sacred treasure, and Diane will probably release it next, and so on and so on. So I don't like this at all. I don't like it because it comes out of nowhere. There was no lore about it. No lore whatsoever about this happening. And it's basically a power-up out of nothing. There wasn't training. I could have accepted it if somebody told King, well, you can release your sacred treasure, but you have to trade. Yes, then it would have been okay, but not like this. Like, he could have released it all this time, but he wasn't able to because he wasn't determined enough. Because all he had to do was be determined enough and get over his feelings in regards to the fairy forest and his failure. And once he got over his feelings and his failure of protecting the fairy forest, he could release his weapon. And yeah, I don't like it, but that's basically everything. And yeah, I will have to wait for the next chapters to see if all the 7 deadly sins can release their secret treasures. But yeah, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a nice day. Oh yeah, and perhaps I will make a discussion about this when I get back home, if I have the time.
Any rational society would either kill me or put me to some use.